Welcome back to the Citizen Channel. Hope you're all staying safe and well. And my end of season review, where we look quite comprehensively, game by game, at our champion season, of course, 21-22. So please, you've not watched part one, go back and watch that. Obviously, we've got to November now, so we're going to chat November onwards now. But please go back and watch part one. And see how we were doing. No spoiler alerts, but you probably know anyway. But it's a nice reminder, isn't it? So please enjoy. And if you are new to the channel, press that subscribe button. That'd be brilliant. And if you have already done so, just spread the word for me. That'd be great. Much appreciated. Give us your likes. Give us your thumbs ups. And make an old City fan very happy, of course. Right. So we finished part one. A disappointing around about Halloween time defeat at home to Crystal Palace. So it hasn't been going too well, but we had a good chance to get back on the bike, if you like, on November. We'll look back now at November 2021. Of course, a quick turnaround. We'd just beaten or slaughtered Brugge over at their place. So obviously, 3rd of November was a sort of game where we sort of could perhaps ease off the gas just a little bit. And we didn't have time, of course, to dwell on that Palace defeat, so that was good. But, yeah, a comfortable win was expected, and yes, resulted in a 4-1 win. Not as good as it was at their place, but not bad. Brugge had briefly pulled it back to 1-1, but goals from Foden, Mahrez, Sterling and Jesus gave us some back. I'll call it City or us, depending what I'm saying. Gave us some momentum. Of course, there was a big local derby up next. Yeah, man of the match for the Brugge game, Cancelo. And here we go. It was Ole and United next on the 6th of November. A day late for fireworks, perhaps, but there was plenty. We continued our great form at the Swamp, of course, with a 2-0 victory that was more emphatic than that scoreline suggests. A Bailey own goal, an opportunist Bernardo goal on the stroke of our time had the game won at 2-0, and we just sort of controlled the game for the second half. Man of the match, Bernardo. After a break, probably another international break, it was a 3-0 home win against Everton with a Rodri rocket that was worth the entrance money alone, as England keeper Pickford was left clutching at air. Everton once a stumbling block at times for City, usually at Goodison, but occasionally certainly at Main Road and the Etihad. Were lacklustre, to say the least, in this one. Sterling and Bernardo were the other scorers. Man of the match, Rodri. City had a bone to pick, of course, with PSG, who'd beaten us, obviously, way back on match day 2. They were next up at the Etihad in the UCL. In one of our best team displays of the season, despite PSG going ahead through Mbappe, goals from Sterling and Jesus dispatched PSG and put City top of the group and through already to the last 16 with a game to spare. Man of the match, Gundogan on that one. On a snowy night, yes, a snowy blizzard night, certainly in the first half. It eased off a bit in the second to the Etihad against West Ham on the 28th of November. City ground out a 2-1 win, mostly poor conditions. Captain Ferner was only on the pitch from the 87th minute, but he made it 2-0 in the 90th, so it all seemed nice and comfortable. Gundogan would give City the lead in the first half. But West Ham did just get the old hearts fluttering a little bit with a late consolation goal. Certainly, we managed to get through, but all credit, and the men of the match for me were the groundsmen and the pitch sweepers. I think I didn't give it a player that night. I just give it the groundsmen and the pitch sweepers. So November, we played 5, won 5. Drawn none and lost none. Scored 13 and let 3 in. On to December, a trip to Villa Park on the 1st of December, and a Prince was in the stands watching, wasn't he? And despite City going in at half-time 2-up, thanks to a Diaz goal and a stunning Bernardo goal, which how it never got onto the match of the day goal of the season, is beyond me, because it's a great build-up as well. City never really got grip in the second half, but despite this, Villa pulled one back, but we sort of kept control of it and pulled out the win. Villa fans, of course, got their chance to have a boo and have a moan as they got to see the pantomime villain after 87 minutes when Pep put Grealish on for the last few minutes of the game. Grealish enjoyed it, and I think it probably cheered the Villa fans up as well. Man of the match, Bernardo. Then a trip to struggling Watford 3 days later. A 3-1 win with goals from Sterling and a couple from Bernardo put City where we like to be. There we are. We were back for the first time this season on top of the league. Liverpool second, Chelsea third. Chelsea had hit a bit of a dip after, of course, leading the league for a little while. Man of the match, Bernardo for that one. Then the dead rubber UCL game, which we know what happens in these dead rubber games. City sort of ease off the pedal, don't they? We go to sleep a little bit. Pep made 7 changes to that Watford game in the UCL against RB Leipzig, of course, on the 7th of December. And it was to be disappointing. We suffered a 2-1 loss, although it didn't really matter. In an empty, soulless stadium. No, it wasn't Old Trafford. It was Leipzig's place. And there was, of course, COVID hadn't gone anywhere. There was COVID restrictions, and it meant no crowd. Mahrez got what turned out to be a consolation goal, but worse than that for City was actually Walker, who managed to somehow get himself sent off and a ban for the next 3 UCL games. Pep was not impressed. I doubt he spoke to him for a few weeks after that. Man of the match, yeah, surprisingly perhaps, Stefan, man of the match in that one. Back to the Etihad, back to the comforts of home, and the visit Wolves, who are not having a great season, a bit up and downy. It's no surprise to see Walker, who could play for this, wasn't playing. He was in the dugout, and City scraped through against a Wanderers team lacking ambition. In all fairness, and we scraped through thanks to a Sterling penalty. Wolves quite rightly down to 10 men after Walker. After a Walker-like idiotic play by Jimenez, who just asked for trouble. Once he got booked, he got himself booked again and got himself sent off. And Wolves fans were very aggrieved, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It was spot on. And this was actually the goal Sterling scored was his 100th Premier League goal. And we were sort of grateful because he took it, obviously he got that goal from the penalty spot, and he'd actually missed his last 3 pens before that, so we'll take that. But all credit to him for stepping up and taking up responsibility. Man of the match for that one? Well, he went to Sterling. Next up was City's most convincing scoreline of the season. As a struggling Leeds, they're not doing very well at that stage, visited the Etihad and were thrashed 7-0. Foden, Grealish, a couple from KDB, Mahrez, Stones and Ake, who put the ball in the Yorkshire men's net after team did, that's for sure. We humbled Leeds, who were pretty shocking on the day. Man of the match, KDB. We guaranteed top spot for Christmas, against, it's a bit like the UK singles, isn't it? Top spot for Christmas against another team struggling temporarily near the bottom. They did improve the table as we visited St James's and Newcastle United, of course, and handed out a comfortable, in the end, a 4-0 drubbing, setting a new record, actually, of 34 wins in a calendar year by the club. It would get to 36, which obviously it was quite impressive with a couple of games still left. Diaz, Cancelo, Mahrez and Sterling were the scorers. Man of the match, Cancelo. We were treated to another 9-goal thrill on Boxing Day at the Etihad, another 6-3, as City beat Leicester 6-3. Not before a bit of a scare, of course. It wouldn't be City, would it? 4-0 and Sterling at half-time from goals from KDB, a Mahrez penalty, Gundogan and Sterling. Leicester pulled it back to 4-3 before Laporte and a late penalty for Sterling, again, finally stopped the jitters for us City fans and the team. Pep hadn't been very impressed. Man of the match was Sterling. Our final game in 2021, I was visiting, for the first time ever, Brentford's little new stadium, and they'd performed well on their own patch previously, but City, we were on a roll, weren't we? And a Foden goal after 16 minutes seemed to note the arrival of many more, but it didn't. That was enough to win the game. Although Pep's frustration was clear to see, we did have a few chances, but we managed to not hang on. We won it comfortably, even though a 1-0 scoreline doesn't sort of reflect that. 8 points clear of Chelsea, it put us, and 9 points clear of Liverpool at the end of the year. Although they did have a game in hand, so it's only really 6 points, wasn't it? Man of the match, Foden. Now, December stats, played 8, won 7, drawn none, lost 1, 25 goals for and 7 against. But that loss was a bit of a dead rubber anyway, wasn't it, as we know. On to January 2022, a new year and what looked like a tricky trip down to London for a 12:30pm kickoff, which was an early start for most of us who went down there. Normally a happy hunting ground, it certainly has been recently, but this would be a game surrounded by controversy. Although, as it turned out, the ref and VAR were actually spot on. But it didn't stop Arsenal fans having a moan, one particularly spunk bubble of a guy called Alan Davis, particularly, and the bias press as well were all for the fact that Arsenal had been robbed. Toys were definitely out of the pram as we came from a goal down to win against a 10-man Arsenal who'd had a man sent off after 59 minutes. And of course, that last-minute injury time winner from Rodri after Amara's equalised earlier sent us all delirious in the away end, that's for sure. And of course, not a game perhaps we deserved to win, but that's what makes you champions, isn't it? Man of the match for me, no one. Again, I didn't pick anyone, but generally Rodri was considered, and I probably would give it Rodri for that last-minute goal. But Rodri got it from most people. And then we had a little rest, didn't we? We had a little rest. We went on to the FA Cup, a cup we've never won enough for me, in all fairness, over the last 12 years or so since we won it in 11. To win it only once since that, I think, is a pretty poor return. And it was the third round of the FA Cup, took us to Swindon Town. But we've been hit, it was still on us. We'd been hit by a bit of a COVID break at the time. We were getting down to our sort of basic players, very, very few available to play. And with kids on the bench, we started all our experienced players on the pitch. As I say, we just had kids on the bench for that game. But we did have a little trouble seeing off Swindon. But it was Cole Palmer who shone, actually, in this game. We won 4-1 with goals from Bernardo, Jesus, Gundo and Palmer. And, of course, man of the match had to be Mr. Palmer himself. On 15th of January, Chelsea still sat second, still a threat, visited the Etihad, but being 10 points behind, they really had to get something out of this to keep their slim title challenge alive. A brilliant KDB goal was a difference, but City were always in control again. So only 1-0, but it never looked in doubt. Man of the match, KDB. 22nd of January saw a visit to St Mary's, with Liverpool now City's nearest challengers as Chelsea sort of dropped off a little bit. They were 11 points behind, but they did have a game in hand. So, officially we were 8 points ahead, so things were going all right. But it was a frustrating afternoon on the South Coast as we fell behind early and struggled to get back in the game. Laporte equalised on 65 minutes. Couldn't be built on, though, and it looked as though we could press to get the winning goal and seal the 3 points. Try as we might, by hook or by crook, Southampton's held on and kept us out to grab an unlikely draw and obviously diminish our lead at the top. Man of the match, for me, Laporte. January stats: played 4, won 3, drawn 1, scored 8, let in 3. And on to February, it's back in FA Cup action, of course. An Etihad fourth round meeting with runaway championship leaders Fulham. A full house due to good tickets pricing. Lots of kids going to see their first, lots of kids in City kits on the internet going to see their first game. Well done, City. You price it right, they will come. So a full house for this game. Fulham took an early lead. We didn't go to plan, but we equalised through Gundogan literally a couple of minutes later. And once we got our noses in front through Stones adding the second in the second half, the result was never in doubt. As Mahrez added another 2, won a penalty. He was doing well for penalties, wasn't he? But we'll talk about that later. But Fulham had played some nice football in this, and a welcome addition back to the Premiership for however long they stay this time. Man of the match was Stones. On the 9th of February, City met Brentford at the Etihad. Again, Brentford, busy bees, worked their hearts out on this one. But City found a way, of course. Another Mahrez pen gave us a half-time lead, and KDB sealed it with a poacher's goal after a Sterling shot was spilled way through the second half. Man of the match, KDB. With Sterling's contract talk stalling, City visited Carrow Road on the 12th of February. Norwich had put an amazing run of 3 wins together, but a City win was never in doubt on this one. Well, in the second half anyway, once we'd scored a second. A Sterling hat-trick and a Foden goal sealed a 4-0 win. Man of the match, Sterling. And it was back to the Champions League and a trip to Lisbon in the last 16 on February the 15th. The game was over by half-time, of course, with goals from Mahrez, Bernardo got a couple and Foden. It should have been more, but City had to settle for 5 as Sterling added a 5th in the second half. But a quarter-final spot was all but guaranteed. City became the first team in the competition's history to win 5 consecutive knockout stage away games. Man of the match? I didn't have one on this one for some reason, but Bernardo and Mahrez both got 9 out of 10 in the Manchester Evening News. Back to league action in our first day tormentors Spurs, oh dear, visited the Etihad on the 19th of February. We were 9 points clear of Liverpool, had a game in hand, but Spurs, beaten in their previous 3, would once again embarrass City, who rather than escape with a draw, allowed Spurs to score a late winner. Gundo had made it 1-1 at half-time. City appeared to have salvaged something with a 90-minute penalty from Mahrez after we'd been 2-1 behind, before Kane grabbed his second and a winner in added time to send... so depressed after that game. So embarrassing. Just hang on for the draw, guys. Don't worry about trying to win it. We've nicked a point. Keep it. Man of the match, again, none for me. Ederson and Gundogan got 7 out of 10 in the Manchester Evening News. A stiff test at Goodison followed on the 26th of February, and Lampard's Toffees didn't have a soft centre on this one. They fought hard, defended well, restricting us at times, out-battling us, out-jumping us, out-fighting us, basically. And we had to wait for an 82nd minute Foden goal, and this was due to a Pickford error as well, to actually put us in the lead. It looks as though that was it, that was enough, but we escaped with that 1-0, despite another controversial thing as controversial element, as Rodri appeared to handball late on. It probably was a handball, but the referee didn't see it. The VAR agreed that there was no clear and obvious error because there's no definite angle to look at it to say it was handball, and it was no penalty to Everton. So we got away with it 1-0. Who's to say they would have scored? Who's to say they wouldn't have gone up the other end and scored? It doesn't matter. But this led to the farce of the PGMOL sending a letter of apology to Everton for the decision and the fact that they got the decision on and off, the off-field and on-field decision wrong. I mean, was this the first VAR decision that was wrong in all the time VAR's been going? Were there ever any other letters or mistakes? I mean, it's an absolutely ridiculous situation, but we got through it. We won 1-0. Everton stayed up by the end of the season, so all's well that ends well, because they didn't want their neighbours Liverpool to win the title anyway, did they? Man of the match was Foden. And the February stats: played 6, won 5, drawn none, lost 1, scored 17 and let in 5. So please, that's the end of part 2. Join me. Yes, we're still in a chance of a treble, aren't we? Join me for part 3 as we look back to City's march till the end of this, champion season. And no spoiler alert with this one. So join me for part 3 as we look forward from City's games from March onwards. There would be disappointments, but there will be glory as well. Anyway, join me for that, guys. Thanks for watching. Please, until we meet again, that's one thing, don't I? Please stay safe, please. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.